How many times have we heard someone say just get over it when we feel nervous in social situations? But what if it's more than just being shy? Today, we're going to dive deep into social anxiety, what it truly is, and why that distinction matters so much. Think about it. When you see someone avoiding a party or absolutely dreading a presentation, is it just a really bad case of shyness? Or could there be something deeper going on? Well, that's exactly the question we're going to tackle right now. All right, so first things first, let's get on the same page about what we're actually talking about here. Let's define the experience of social anxiety. Okay, so the clinical definition is social anxiety disorder, and it's described as an intense and persistent fear of social situations where you feel like you might be watched or judged by other people. The key words there are really intense and persistent. Yeah, this is way beyond just a simple case of the jitters. And it's really important to get this. The fear isn't actually about the people themselves. It's the terror of being judged negatively. It's the fear of embarrassment, of criticism, of coming across as awkward or weak. It can even become a fear of someone noticing you're anxious, which just creates this awful vicious cycle, right? So, what's the tipping point? When does this common worry cross the line into a clinical disorder? Well, clinicians look for a few key things. The fear has to last for more than 6 months. It needs to lead to actively avoiding social situations. And most importantly, it has to be negatively impacting your life, your studies, your job, or your relationships. Okay, but what does this actually feel like for someone going through it? Let's take a look at the symptoms, both what's happening on the inside and what people might see on the outside. Inside your head, the battle is just relentless. It's not about just being nervous during the party. It's the intense, gut-wrenching fear for days or even weeks before it. It's worrying constantly about what others think, getting stuck in this loop of negative thoughts like, I'm going to mess this up, or they're all going to laugh at me. All of that can make it feel almost impossible to just speak your mind. And all that internal chaos, it doesn't just stay in your head. It absolutely explodes into the physical world as your body's fight or flight response goes into overdrive. We're talking a racing heart, sweating, shaking hands, a trembling voice, blushing, even feeling sick to your stomach. I mean, these aren't imaginary. They are real, physical things happening to your body. So, when you're dealing with all that, the racing thoughts, the shaking hands, what's the most natural response in the world? Avoidance. You just want to get away from the trigger. And this is how the disorder starts to shrink your world. You might start skipping meetings, turning down invitations, maybe even avoiding simple stuff like eating in public, until eventually it can lead to almost complete social withdrawal, which is just heartbreaking. And all of this brings us right back to where we started. Now that we've seen what it looks and feels like, let's finally draw that crystal clear line between social anxiety and just being shy. Let's really break this down side by side because the difference is huge. Shyness, that's a normal feeling and it's usually temporary. Social anxiety disorder is a persistent psychological condition. Shyness might make you hesitate a bit, but social anxiety disorder, that's like being trapped behind an invisible wall that actually gets in the way of your daily life. Really, it all comes down to the level of distress. Shyness is uncomfortable. Social anxiety can be completely debilitating. So, this begs a massive question, right? Where does this even come from? And what are some of the biggest myths out there? It's time to unpack the why. You hear this one a lot, unfortunately. Is this all just a character flaw? A weakness? And the answer to that is a hard, absolute no. Not even close. And getting that is so important, whether this is your own battle or you're trying to help someone you care about. Let's be crystal clear about what this is not. It's a recognized medical disorder. It is not a weakness of faith. It is not some innate lack of confidence that you were just born with. And it is absolutely not laziness or cowardice. Honestly, it takes a ridiculous amount of courage just to get through the day when you're living with this. Okay, so if it's not a choice, what's really going on under the hood? Well, it's usually not just one thing. It's a complicated mix. It could stem from painful experiences in childhood, like bullying. It can be linked to growing up in a super strict or critical environment. Genetics can play a part, and so can the actual chemistry in our brain that regulates anxiety. It's really a mix of nature and nurture. All right, understanding the problem is a huge first step, but now for the most important part, the solution. Let's talk about treatment and the very real hope for recovery. And this is the question, right? The one that really matters when you're facing something this big. Can you actually get better? Is recovery truly possible? And I'm so happy to say the answer is a massive, resounding yes. Recovery is not just some far-off dream. It's actually the most likely outcome, especially if you get help. The success rates for treatment are incredibly high. So one of the gold standard treatments is something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT for short. It's a really practical approach. Basically, here's how it works. Step 1, you learn to spot and push back against those automatic negative thoughts. Step 2, you gradually and in a safe way expose yourself to the situations you fear, which helps your brain relearn that they're not dangerous. And step 3, you build a whole toolkit of skills to manage anxiety when it pops up. And CBT isn't the only tool in the toolbox. There's also exposure therapy, which is often part of CBT, and that's all about facing your fears, one small, manageable step at a time. For some people, medication prescribed and supervised by a doctor can also be a game changer, helping to regulate the brain's chemistry and making all the therapy work even more effective. So, I want to leave you with this really powerful idea, a new way to think about this whole experience. Anxiety doesn't mean danger, and fear doesn't mean failure. The feelings are 100% real, no doubt about it. But they aren't facts. They don't define reality. And realizing that is where the freedom begins. That's the first real step to taking your life back.